Hello, my name is Evan Moore. Today I'm going to show you a demo featuring a service request ticket running on K2's APPIT in SharePoint 2013. To start our demo, I'm going to give a little background on what we're running through. This is going to be an end time user experience for someone that might be fielding a call and filling out a service request for a customer, filling out the form, and then we'll be advancing that through a workflow and taking a look at some reporting at the end. We're going to highlight not only the form submission, but how we can action that form and some different components along the way and how those relate back to the K2 APPIT platform. To start, you'll notice that we're in a standard SharePoint site with a standard SharePoint list. Anyone that's familiar with SharePoint can probably relate to this particular kind of page. Here we've added some additional columns to our page with some additional data fields. And you can see we have a view flow, a status, item description, some other pieces of information relating to our CRM contact database, and a title that we'll fill in. So to start with, we'll add a new item. Perhaps we have a customer calling in needing some support. So as an end user, I'm going to open up a new form to be able to capture some of that information. You'll notice here off the bat that this form does not look like a standard SharePoint form. Already we're employing K2 APPIT's technology to give us a form above and beyond what you're going to see in SharePoint out of the box. It's going to give us more dynamic fields to play with and a more robust experience in order to help manipulate the data that we need to enter. So the first thing we're going to do is you'll notice here that we have a header at the top of our page. This is of course APPIT powered, and we can keep these headers consistent across our organization with all forms that we create. Below that, we have some information where we're going to enter into our fields, the first being a title. This is merely a text string query, or a text string, where we can type in the title of our service request, whatever we want that to be. So for today's example, we'll just call this Demo Test 1 Service Request. The next field down you'll notice is different. This is not just a text entry field, but a company picker field or a picker field. This is going to allow us to actually query out to a different database or a different line of business application, in this case CRM Dynamics, and return a record merely by typing in a few characters. In this case, the customer calling in's company was AdventureWorks. Instead of typing in the word AdventureWorks and possibly creating typos, multiple entries, different ways of spelling the company, I've actually reached out to our CRM database by typing in a few characters. K2 APPIT has gone behind the scenes and used that information to return back a record. In this case, it was the record for AdventureWorks, one of our existing customers that we're working with in this demo. After we've returned back the record for the company, our next field down is a contact person. This is a drop-down that we've created. The drop-down is only showing us 2 contacts. Our CRM database has thousands and thousands of contacts, but because of K2 APPIT's ability to filter from field to field, we've taken this record that we've returned with AdventureWorks and filtered the next field down to only show us relevant contacts of the company we're working with. In this case, Nancy's calling in, so we'll select Nancy as the contact. After we have our company filled out along with our contact person who is dynamically filtered against this record, you'll notice we now have a new tab visible at the top that wasn't there before. This particular tab allows us to dial in deeper to our company record and to our customer record and see additional details that might be helpful to our call. Here in this case, we have an address, a phone number, their email, and maybe a few other pieces of information about this company that are relevant to our call that will help us with what we're doing. Beyond not only able to see the information, we're also able to change the information within this worksheet right here. As I'm talking to Nancy about her service request, I'm also verifying her details. She's mentioned to me that they no longer reside in Redmond, but they've moved to Bellevue. I can highlight this, change their city to Bellevue with an appropriate zip code, and right from this screen, from within SharePoint, within our smart form, I can now click Update and write this information back to our CRM database from one point of login. There's no need for me to open up a new tab, log into my CRM database, and update this information on the call. I can do that all right from here from one point. Once my information is updated, I can take a look and verify the rest of the details are correct and move back to my service request tab. Within the issue description, I can now enter in whatever the description is. Maybe Nancy's calling in because she needs help installing something at their local site. So we'll say install needed on customer site needed quickly. Please schedule ASAP. Beyond that, maybe I want whoever's to see this that this is very important. Of course, I can highlight this, maybe make that stand out a little bit, so that whoever does see this is going to recognize the fact that this is important and they need to act on this quickly. Now, before I submit this and save it back to the SharePoint list, I want to make sure that the proper person is notified. So you can see our last field here is a service category. The customer needs installation support. So what I'm going to do is come up here to the installation and select installation. Now, instead of just submitting to the list or even just to my manager, the form is going to dynamically route to the proper department head, in this case, Lucas, because I've chosen installation. I'll go ahead and save the form out now and allow this to save back to our SharePoint list and also kicking off the workflow. As it saves out, you'll see it returns us back to the workflow list, or to the SharePoint list, excuse me. And you can now see that it's been added to the top. Before I continue, I want to show you how to do the same thing in a different way that might be helpful to your organization. I here have a different screen open with an APPIT application launcher that we've built out here using K2 APPIT. Instead of a standard SharePoint list, you'll see that I now have several applications that we've pre-built right on the dashboard here. We have our service request, a leave request application, and an expense claim application. Beyond the applications that we have pre-populated here, you'll see that we also have a work list built in. As our work list item goes through its workflow and refreshes, you'll see these added to our various work lists. You can see here that we have various items that need our attention. I can launch our different applications right from here, and I can also see my notifications. As we open this up, you'll see that it opens the form in a new tab and shows as a web form. Although this is the same form that we filled out on the first screen, to a user, it looks slightly different. It looks as if you're just filling out a web form. The reason this might be important is because not everyone is familiar with SharePoint. Part of K2 APPIT's reason is to deploy usability across your organization and encourage adoption. So in this particular case, we'll fill out the web form, we'll select a department, and we'll submit it. Just as before, we're submitting the same form and sending it along the same workflow, but this time it looks like we're simply filling out a web form. As we go back to our work list here now that we've submitted our service request, you'll see our work list is now updated with the work list that with the form that we have submitted, and we're able to have some options. We can go right from our work list here and either open the form, we can schedule the form, I can cancel it if need be, I can send it back to the originator for more information, I can share it with a peer. Perhaps my day is over, but this item needs attention right away. I can simply click the share button and share that with a peer so that they're added and that this will appear on their work list as well. We also have the ability to jump right into the view flow and take a look at where this particular form is at along the workflow process. So as we open up our workflow, we're going to get a visual representation of the item and where it sits. Here you can see that the form has been submitted, the status has been updated, and now it's sitting with me in scheduling. I can open up this particular box, look at the participants, and see that in fact it is just me that's associated with this activity. Again, maybe I need to leave for the day or I'm going to be out for the weekend, and this information needs to be looked at right away. I can go back to my work list item and I can share that right from here. Another way you may want to action this task is via email. Maybe you're at your desktop, or maybe you're even out on the go on your mobile device and need to look at this item while you're out. We can switch over here to our email inbox and see that we've received an email notifying us that a service request has been submitted on our behalf. Not only does it give us a notification, but it also gives us some contextual information around that particular item. It says who the company was, what contact person, the issue description. It gives us a link to open up our work list item, and it also gives us some actions that we can use to action it right from our email. If I happen to know that this is ready to be scheduled, I can simply reply to the email, type in the command that's given to me as an option, hit send, and this is going to move to a scheduled status. I could also use cancel or send back for more information depending on what I want to do to action it. In this case, I don't want to just blindly action this task. I want to take a look at the item first and add some additional input. I'm going to open up the work list item right from my email. It's going to open up this form in a different tab in my browser, recycling and reusing this particular portion of the form that was already filled out before. However, this time it's going to uncover a few additional fields for us to utilize. Now it's going to give us a start date field. As a scheduling manager, I want to have the option to be able to jump in here and set a date. Let's say that the service needs to be happening for Monday. We'll select that for Monday. We'll go down here to the service category, select a service category to match, come up here to this new box that's only showing now because we are within an approval status, and K2 APPIT knows that it's going to reveal this information to us. Drop down the schedule and submit this out. I've now actioned that task. Going back to our work list item, we're going to see here after we refresh that the update will now show as confirmed complete, showing us that we've actioned that particular task. Furthermore, we can jump into our workflow and see that in real time, we've advanced through the workflow through the scheduling step to the confirmed complete step. Again, I can jump in and I can see who is available on this particular step. The reasoning why I showed you several different items here is because to highlight the idea that there's many ways to do the same thing. You can submit a form multiple ways and have the same result. You can action a form multiple ways, either directly from your work list. We can mark this now completed as we finished it. We can, of course, access it from our email using simple commands or opening the work list item straight from our email. Each way presents your user with a different way to action the item, move it through the workflow, and continue. Now that our form has been completed and pushed through the entire end of the workflow, what do you want to do with your applications after that? Well, generally you want to take a look at their efficiency. Here you can see on our dashboard that we've created a tab that displays some reporting features. With our out-of-the-box reporting features, we're able to see things like how many instances of a particular application have been run, what status each of these applications are in, how many of them are complete versus active. Again, being able to jump right into a view flow. An example here would be if I'm monitoring this particular application, why has this particular one been active since September? Well, I can jump into the view flow right away with one click. I can see that it's stuck on this step here, open it up, and decide who's responsible for that step. In this case, maybe I want to go back and start analyzing some additional reporting and create a different escalation in the workflow at that point that maybe copies a peer or copies a group so that we can eliminate bottlenecks and improve efficiency. This concludes the runtime portion of our service request demo with K2 APPIT. If you have any questions, now is the time to ask. Thank you.